how you doing today? Today we're going to work on some pizza. It's a good day for pizza. Okay, so I'm going to make two kinds of pizzas today. It's going to be a regular marinara sauce pizza, and the other one is going to be a pesto pizza. So we're going to start with making our dough, and because that has to rise for about an hour. So we'll get started. We have 1 1/4 cups of water, and then we have 1/8 cup of sugar, which we're just going to pour right in there. You're going to mix it around a little bit just to get it dissolving a little bit in the water. Then you have 1.5 teaspoons of yeast. And I'm going to sprinkle that over the top of the warm water, and it's warm water. This is going to sit for about 5-7 minutes. It's going to start foaming up. If your yeast does not foam up, redo it. That means either your yeast is no good or your water's too hot, but your yeast should foam up. It's starting to foam already. You're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt to 2 1/4 cups of flour. I'm going to eyeball this. That's about 1 teaspoon. I'm going to mix it in there just a little bit. Our yeast is foaming nicely. Sometimes when you have active yeast, it works really well. If you don't have the bag yeast, you can use one of the quick packs of yeast. This is 1/8 cup of oil. Vegetable oil, olive oil, whichever one is good for you. So my yeast is about dissolved. Now I'm going to pour the oil into the yeast. Now I'm going to start mixing my flour. Mix your flour in about 1/2 cup at a time. And with this dough, you want it to be sticky. You don't want to add too much flour. So at the end, it's going to be sticky. When you put it in your bowl to rest, you're going to knead it a little bit when you take it back out in an hour. So we're going to start with about 1/2 cup. This is a dough hook. I'm using my mixer today. If you don't have a dough hook, you can mix it with your hands the exact same way the dough hook is working. Make sure dough is thoroughly mixed before adding more flour. If the dough appears to be dry, add a few drops of water, only a few drops. And so now you have a sticky dough, and it is sticky to the touch. It's supposed to be. Now you have a separate bowl with oil in it. This bowl is where you're going to transfer this into. Transfer it right into the oil bowl. And you're going to turn it over because you want it to have oil all around it. You're going to cover this with plastic wrap. Okay, this is just pan spray. Plastic wrap. What I'm going to do is just spray a little bit on the plastic wrap so that this way it does not stick onto your dough as the dough rises. I'm going to cover this with the spray end down. And you're going to put it in a warm place. I would say your oven is not on. If you turn the light on in your oven and just sit the bowl in there for an hour, you're going to see how it rises, and I'm going to show you. So while we wait for our dough to rise, we're going to put our pesto sauce together. This is a spinach basil pesto. Simple, fresh ingredients. 2 cups of spinach, 1/8 cup of oil. This is just some salt, pepper, and onion, parsley, dry seasoning. 2 cloves of garlic, 1/2 cup of basil, fresh basil, 1/2 lemon, 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese, and 2 tablespoons of pine nuts. I also use a little water. Now normally we'll call for a 1/4 cup of oil. I don't like so much oil, so I substitute a little water for the oil, but I use 1/8 cup of oil. So now All this is going in our little processor here. I'm going to start with the oil, and then I'm going to put my spinach in there. And you don't have to do it all at one time. Just start with some. I'm going to start processing with the spinach. Like I said, because it's only about 1/8 of a cup of oil, we're going to have to use just a little water. And you'll judge for yourself, or you can use all oil. Now once you start getting your spinach down, I'm going to put my pine nuts. I'm going to drop my garlic. I'm going to even drop the seasoning. And that's mixing well, so I can throw the rest of my spinach in there, my basil. We can even start squeezing a lemon. Usually I would hold my hand underneath because you don't want the seeds. And you can also add your cheese. Very simple pesto. Basically, that is your pesto. And it's done. Okay, so I've had this one rising for the past hour. As you see, I bumped it, so it's starting to go down a little bit. But we're going to take it, we're going to flour a board, and then we're going to knead it and divide it into two to make 2 doughs for our pizza. Okay, so now we're just going to take a little flour, put it down, and we're going to pour our dough that has been sitting for the past hour. Very light dough, very airy. Now is when you're going to use a little extra flour. And it should all come up pretty much because the oil really won't allow it to stick too well. I'm going to dust it. I would say knead it a little bit. But we're going to cut this in half. Okay, so we're going to cut this in half to use this for both our pizzas. These are going to be about maybe a 10-inch pizza each. If you need larger, then you can double the ingredients of the dough so that you can make full 16 and 20-inch pizzas. Just kneading this a little, and you see how it's not so sticky? I mean, the center is because it's soft, but this is a nice pliable dough. So while our dough waits, and it can sit for a while and it's fine. So now we're going to roll out the pizza dough. This dough is a little soft because we just made it. Normally, I might sit in the refrigerator for an hour. You can use this, you can put it in the refrigerator, you can wrap it up, use it tomorrow, but sometimes it's still going to rise in the refrigerator. You may still get some rise, you can beat it down, but because I'm using it straight for making it, it's very soft. So we're going to see how this works. I'm using a wire rack today. I'm trying something new. The first dough I rolled out on a little smaller pan, and this one's more like a deep dish. So we're going to see how this comes out. And I would usually try to roll it up with my hands, like up, like you see in the pizza parlors, which I can, but because it's so soft, I don't want it to fall apart. I'm going to use my rolling pin. We're going to try to get this as round as we possibly can, and we have to make sure your board is a little floured so it's not going to stick. I can turn it over from that end and start doing it there. You're going to preheat the oven between 450 and 475. Let's see how this is going to work. So now you can start shaping it on your board. And then I add a little oil to the top of my dough. Kind of spread it around. I usually like it definitely on the edges because that gives it a nice sheen. Then you're going to start with your toppings. Now, as I was saying, some people like to put their dough in the oven and let it not bake, but just start to cook so it puffs up a little bit. You can do that for like 10 minutes, then take it out and put your toppings on. Or you can put your toppings directly on the pizza. It depends on you. You can experiment a little bit. So I'm going to we're going to add the toppings. Now we're going to top them, okay? And as you see, the dough has been sitting for a few and the sides are puffing up, so it's still going to be activating itself. This is the regular marinara sauce. You can use spaghetti sauce. You can use that so-called pizza sauce is nothing but marinara sauce. What I do is definitely add a teaspoon of sugar and any spices, oregano, onion, garlic. That's it, just to jazz it up a little bit. Okay, that's about enough sauce. We're going to do just one cheese on here, mozzarella. Whatever cheese you like, that's what you use. Mozzarella, sharp, cheddar, feta, provolone, whatever you like, you use. And if you don't want cheese, you don't even have to use cheese. Like I said, with toppings, you can make a white sauce topping. You can make any kind of toppings that you like. That's the fun part about making homemade pizza. It's whatever floats your boat. And then I'm going to add, this was a sausage link I just cut up. If you want to make this vegan, the dough is already vegan. All you have to do is add a vegan type of meat or vegan cheese. You can make up your own cheese. We can do that at another time. I'm also going to add a little bit of olives to this one. Sprinkle it off with a little bit of oregano. And if you want a little Parmesan cheese, that can just kind of top it off. And that's the first one. All right, so now we're going to do the pesto pizza. And this is my pesto topping, my sauce. Now this one, I like the veggies. This is some mushrooms, onions, and peppers that I sauteed. Some artichokes. And for this one, I'm using feta cheese. Put Parmesan across the top. And voila. So we're going to now place them in the oven. A one-on-one rack. I got them on the little lower end of the two for rack. About 20 to 25 minutes, depending on your oven. Thanks for watching.